Well, now we go straight into the business news roundup. Last week, there were a couple of economic forums around town trying to discuss how we can boost the macroeconomic structure of the country. In addition, Dr. Anthony Akotose, who is the minority spokesperson on finance, proposed that government halt the implementation of the single spine salary structure and also try and look at reducing the numbers of people on the public wage bill. All these and more in the business news roundup. Former Minister of State at the Finance Ministry and minority spokesperson for finance, Dr. Anthony Akotose, has called for the suspension of the single spine salary policy and the retrenchment of some public sector workers to cut the huge wage bill, blamed for government overspending. The proposal has, however, been ruled out by Finance Minister Seth Tepe, at least for now. Trade Policy Coordinator at the UN Economic Commission for Africa, Alan John Tremanting, is asking governments to come out with a well-defined development-oriented national vision to back its quest to restructure the economy. Speaking to Joy News after an economic breakfast meeting in Accra, he was very emphatic that it will be difficult for the economy to improve if the leadership does not agree on its fundamental problems. Industry players have blamed the current economic challenges on the lack of a clear development strategy and vision for the country. They foresee the worst if a clear national development strategy is not created and shared. This was the consensus at the end of an economic forum organized by the Business and Financial Times in Accra. The debate saw two entrepreneurs on the panel warning against knee-jerk solutions to major economic problems. Opinions were between a calculated attempt towards an all-inclusive shared national vision and pursuing a tripod development hinged on agriculture, manufacturing and finance. The Bank of Ghana has indicated it would review some of the recent foreign exchange measures, especially those that are badly affecting businesses. The central bank last February introduced a new set of measures aimed at stabilizing the Ghana cedi. However, a source close to the bank says the review would not affect all the directives, but just those that have brought some untold hardship to enterprises. Meanwhile, the regulator says it would soon go after institutions quoting different exchange rates for the dollar apart from the official Bank of Ghana rates. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center, in the face of declining foreign direct investment, is looking at strategic initiatives and branding to make Ghana a globally competitive destination for investment. GIPC Chief Executive Marina Treba explains Ghana needs investment with tangible results which will translate into development. According to GIPC, FDIs came down by 19% to $2.3 billion in 2013, compared to almost $5 billion recorded in 2012. Civil society organization Third World Network says the fall in gold prices is not significant enough to warrant the recent massive layoffs in the mining sector. The organization is asking governments to ensure there's a multifaceted regulatory regime to govern the sector and ensure the economy accrues the revenues due it and not succumb to the pressures of mining companies. The recent fall in gold prices has led to the laying off of some 3,080 mining workers out of an estimated 28,000 workers in the sector. The Trade Ministry has taken steps to give real meaning to plans to promote made-in-Ghana goods. The ministry, in a public notice, is requesting the services of a consultant to develop a strategy to support the consumption of local goods. According to the ministry, it intends to use part of its budget allocation to drive this initiative. While some analysts say this has been influenced by plans to cut down on Ghana's import bill to help stabilize the local currency, others, however, believe this should not be the approach. Now we talk about energizing Ghana, even as everyone is looking forward to the economy growing and also for more indigenous businesses. Power supply in the country continues to remain rather erratic. Ghanaians are once again waiting for a schedule of a load shedding exercise. But today, the president of the country said he has dispatched the Minister for Energy, Kofi Amabuwa, to Nigeria to meet the management of the West African gas pipeline company over the shortfall of the supply of gas from Nigeria. Let's hear what the president had to say earlier this morning.
But one of the major areas we started facing challenges again is in the energy sector. The last time we were here, the West African gas pipeline was disrupted, it was cut, and so we're not getting any gas supplies from Nigeria. Unfortunately, this year we have the same problem. The pipeline is not broken, but the volumes that Nigeria is piping through the pipeline have dropped to almost zero. And so Asogli is down. Asogli produces 220 megawatts of our generation, and then we have what we call the Mines Reserve Plant that produces another 50 megawatts of our generation. So 220 plus 50 is 270. So suddenly we have a drop of 270 megawatts in our power generation, and that is what has led to this emergency load management. I'm dispatching the Minister of Energy to Nigeria today to meet with the West African Gas Pipeline authorities and try to resolve this issue.
So once again, the country's energy crisis is being attributed to a shortfall in gas supply from Nigeria. On the phone line, joining me on the phone line right now is Edward Bao, who is the communications consultant for the Ministry of Energy, and also John Peter Amewu, who is a research and policy analyst with ASAP, which is the African Center for Energy Policy. We're going to try and find out exactly how we can overcome this energy crisis, especially when it's always been attributed to external factors and really matters that seem beyond our control. But are they really? Mr. Amewu, let me ask you this question first. Earlier this morning, another energy analyst, Charles Rekubobe, proposed that Ghana cancels the deal with Nigeria. Seems our Nigerian counterparts do not seem to be able to meet their end of the bargain when it comes to supplying gas to the country. What do you make of this?
Well, I think first of all, it's important to recognize that it is not the Nigerian government that is delivering gas to Ghana. It is a company in Nigeria, One Gas, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Now, every gas purchase and sales agreement have what we call the minimum daily quantity, which is derived from the annual quantity. Now, in the gas sales and purchase agreement, there is a responsibility on the seller to deliver the minimum quantity. And the buyer has the obligation to accept that minimum daily quantity. The consequences of the volume risk is for the buyer to make sure that the quantity that is delivered is acceptable. And that is why it is important to put in this minimum daily quantity in the contract. Mm-hmm. In case of Ghana, we have about 120, okay, which is supposed to be delivered. We have never, ever, on any occasion, ever witnessed that delivery. It means that there is a fault probably on part of the person who is selling the gas to Ghana. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what are the contract ends? What does the contract state when there is a refusal on part of the supplier to deliver the minimum daily quantity? Does it call for termination? Does it call for a makeup? If the makeup clause is available, then it's a responsibility of the people who are buyers to make sure that they trigger the makeup clause. It's not a responsibility of Ghanaians to start going to Nigeria to go and do what? The risk of the contract must be taken by the buyer and the seller, and that is why we have the gas purchase and sales agreement. If you go to Nigeria to go and negotiate, are you going to negotiate based on the fact that you need to increase the volume of gas? Don't forget the difficulty we have as a Ghanaian through our gas supply from One Gas is the fact that Nigeria has an aggressive program to increase its current power generation beyond 8,000 megawatts, and they also need gas. And so the difficulty for us is therefore to begin to look at other options of probably getting gas from other places.
Okay, so
probably from the Jubilee Field or the Sankofa, which we need to speed up. One of the difficulties that have brought Ghanaians to where we are today is the policy inconsistency. If we have agreed to start the gas plant as earlier, we would have been getting first gas in Ghana probably about a year ago. But the delay of government of starting the project on time is what has brought us all to this particular position.
Okay, Mr. Amewu, I'd like you to hold on. kindly for me. I have Edward Bao online, who is also with the Ministry of Energy, and you've raised a couple of questions, and I hope he will be able to answer them for us. The question is, Nigeria has never been, the company Nigeria and Gas has never been able to provide the daily stipulated amount of gas that was in the contract thus far. And the question Samuel is posing is, what has government done about this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to, I don't know whether it's your viewers or listeners. I think that first and foremost, I think Mr. Adamu may have been making some points, but to have indicated, or maybe to rubbish the whole idea of why we have an existing sales and purchase agreement between the suppliers and the buyers, and that there are lots of terms within the contract. Ghana has no business going to Nigeria to ask us to why the issues, why we are not having gas at the required volumes. It is important to state that yes, all since we started getting gas from Nigeria, it has always been very difficult to meet the contractual volumes. That is a fact that nobody can run away from. And indeed, in all these periods, the erratic nature of it, and even sometimes the total curtailment of supply of gas from Nigeria, has always been attributed to one reason or the other. Mr. Mewu also knows very clearly that in such agreement, the supplier at one point could attribute reasons why maybe he or she may not be able to supply you gas. Indeed, in most of the cases that we have not had volumes of gas coming in their required quantities, Nigeria, and for that matter, has always indicated, has always, most often than not, declared a force majeure cause mostly of a breach of the pipeline. You know that most of the gas that we get from Nigeria, we get it from the Niger Delta. And the Niger Delta is an area where we have this militant action. And on consistent basis, we have situations where these, these pipelines are tampered with. And so it results in the reduction of pressure. However, there are certain times that, for example, when there was a breach of the pipeline in August 2012, there were timelines that were given to us by WACO 2 that they would have finished. These timelines were not met. So even though
if these timelines were not met by your supplier, if these timelines were not met by your supplier, as the buyer, what did you do?
That is the point. That if you're patient, I will explain that to you.
Okay.
There were timelines to construct this, and those timelines were not met in 3 different occasions. Now, in as much as they had declared a force majeure because of the fact that of a breach of the pipeline, because those timelines have not met, the Minister of Energy at the Committee of Ministers meeting asked that WAPA, that's the West African Gas Pipeline Authority, to hire the services of an international law firm that has expertise in gas pipeline activities to see whether there was no legal remedies that not only Ghana but Togo and Benin could also seek. Because one, we do know, for example, that when we're not getting gas, it affected our power supply to industries and homes. That had a serious impact not only on our economy but even on the pockets of a lot of people. Two, the country in itself had to rely on high foreign exchange to be able to purchase crude oil as an alternative fuel for generation of power in this country. And so we had indicated that. So at the last committee, that's the Committee of Ministers, that took place in Cotonou, in Benin. This was tabled, and then WAPA was asked to go and get procure the services of an international law firm to look into whether we could not seek remedies for the delays in bringing the pipeline back to foreign operations. Now, for the reason why the minister is going in, as we speak to you now, we do not actually have a formal communication from Nigeria as to why this time around we have such drastic low levels of gas supply from that country. And so, because we do not have that, and because of the urgency of the situation, His Excellency the President felt, and which in many cases I think I agree with, to dispatch the Energy Minister to go one, to first deal with his counterpart, in as much as it's NGAS that is doing it. NGAS Nigerian oil industry. And therefore, there was a need to have some consultations with his colleague in Nigeria. Two, he was also supposed to meet Chevron, Shell, and then NNPC, who are companies that have come together to form what we call the ENDA. They are the suppliers of that. To ask why is it that we are not getting this? Last but not the least, is also to deal with WACO and then WAPA and see as to what are the way forward. So basically, the whole idea of the minister going, it's not because there has not been a contract. It's not because we do not know that if there are contract terms, that if you renege on your obligation, there are certain clauses that should be triggered. It's not that we do not know that, but because of the agency of the case and the fact that we have not had formal communication as to why the volumes that we're receiving roughly around 18 has finally reduced 30 million cubic of gas. What the issue and whether they were waiting. We can't be sitting down here saying that we want to insist on our right when we do not have power. If we know that we can move to Nigeria, first to ascertain why we are not getting that. Is there something that we can do to deal with address that? Then we address those things. These are things that we think that is the right way to go, that's the right direction to do, and that's exactly what we are doing. But now, there's a point that Peter makes. It is true that if you look at Nigerian landscape, they have also realized that increasing their generation capacity is important because they need energy as main ingredient for their economic development. And so, yes, I do agree that there are a lot of thermal plants that rely on natural gas that have come up in Nigeria or are coming up in Nigeria. But they have not, and we have not had any empirical evidence. And indeed, in February, when we were in Cotonou for the minister asked whether that was a factor. And based on the volumes of gas produced and the demand of Nigeria, that obviously was not the reason for that. And besides that, they said there was a contract that they needed to oblige to, and therefore,
okay, Mr. Bauer, because of time, we have to quickly go into a little bit of trying to find the solutions. The problems are there. Yes. There's no gas. We are not getting it from Nigeria at the moment. Mr. Amewu was proposing that we get serious on the Ghana gas project. I know it's a little bit outside our remit, but could you tell us what are the solutions, quite apart from going to Nigeria to go find out what the problem is?
Obviously, beyond the gas from Nigeria, there are other multiple solutions that we are looking at. One, we are looking at the LNG option, where we will put up an LNG infrastructure to be able to deliver LNG. That one, all you do is that you bring the gas in a very highly pressurized form, in a liquid form, bring it, regasify it, and use it. That is equally not very cheap, but at least it is one option that we are looking at and trying to work on. And we are working with a company known as Quantum Energy to be Quantum Power to be able to do that. There's also the option of processing our own gas reserves. That you and I know that we have been doing some work on it in Atlebo. We are working on it, and hopefully by the close of this year, we should be able to deliver gas to Abuaze in terms of that. We are working with ENI to be able to, that's a Sankofa, to be able to develop the gas, the gas resource that they have also discovered. We've been working with them closely to get that also delivered. So you see that there are options that we are in terms of fuel requirement.
Mr. Bauer, thank you very much. Thank you very much for outlining the options. Unfortunately, we have to let you go now. Mr. Amewu, very, very quickly, are you satisfied with the responses given thus far? In a minute, please.
Well, they are the policymakers sitting close to what they're doing. So if that is what they think will drive the country to a sustainable energy level, that is fine. But what I think we need to do immediately is, number one, we have to begin to take seriously how best can we begin to blend our light crude with a heavy crude. Because if I understand my friend clearly, its assertion is that it's costing Ghana government so much to buy the light crude to fire the plant, which is of course true. So there's a possibility to do more options of bringing in a heavy crude and mix and blend it up with the light crude. That is an option. Another option is to make sure that currently VACO is taking almost 6% of our consumption. Okay, residential and commercial, takes about 70%. Our export, is about 10% if I'm right. And so people need power in their homes. Why don't we take VACO off for now? Okay, at least by 3%. That again will lead to laying off factory hands for VACO, which of course is obvious. But if people need power for residential usage, I think that is the immediate option that we can do apart from the demand side management that government is embarking now. That is another area that we can look at. Don't forget again that if we are able to reduce 5% of our distribution losses, that translates to 95 megawatts, which is equivalent to $200 million. which can build a whole generation plant again of almost about 100 megawatts. So please, again, let us work on our distribution losses. It is also a short-term measure. We can equally do that. Distribution losses, we can do that. The PRC promised Ghanaian, and based on that, we have seen a reformation in the tariff industry. That was totally implemented. But we are not getting value for which we have, been paid, to do those jobs. And so I think that consumers at the benefit need to be satisfied with the tariff that they are paying for the energy that we are consuming. I'm sorry we have to find ourselves in this position because somewhere last year we told the president that this problem is not going to be solved. This problem is not going to be solved. And we are saying it again, that if we don't speed up and work things conclusively, beyond 2015, 2016, the energy problem will be worse in Ghana. It's a fact. Everybody knows about it. And so we need to work, towards more aggressive way of solving some of these issues. There are short-term ones that we can do now. Government must apply that, and so that we think of long-term measures.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Amu, for your time on Business Live this evening. You have really enriched our discussion. So the long and short of it is that Ghanaians want value for money. And speaking of value for money, we're going to go straight now to the Ghana Stock Exchange. David Odoye-Dankwa is with me in studio, and he's going to give us what's been going on the stock exchange when it comes to you buying shares in different companies and hopefully getting returns or getting your value for money. David, welcome to Business Live. Good evening. Tell us quickly, what has been going on the GSE this week? We just closed trading.
The Ghana stock market, we just closed trading today, and I think the performance for today is it's no different from what happened last week, as in the market continues to drop on its level, with the composite index recording its third consecutive drop last week Friday. So the market is not doing well, though we saw the capitalization increasing a little. We didn't see volumes shooting up, neither did we see a lot of stocks gaining on their prices. So the market continues to be unstable, with some investors losing on their capital or investments.
You sound a bit not as optimistic as you usually do. Things are not going the way you wouldn't describe the market as bullish at this moment, would you?
Not this moment. I wouldn't describe the market as bullish. I would say we are having a kind of bearish sentiment on the market, because we've seen prices dropping consistently on the market, and anytime it happens this way, we see investors suffering. And one thing about it is, this trend is not happening only in Ghana. As I said, Nigerian market to close the week dropping on its index level. We had a South African market also dropping on its index level. So it's something I think across the sub-region, and I believe the emerging markets in the advanced world is also contributing to this. So though it's not, we have our own part in contributing to this kind of challenge, because we have our indicators not right. We have inflation going up, we have our currency depreciating, so it makes investing in Ghana cities or investing in the Ghanaian economy not viable. So we should see some investors cashing out their money out of the economy. So I see something that it's normal, and once that we get it sorted out, we will see the market pulling up again.
Yes. Regardless of this, though, for some savvy stock savvy people out there, this is the time for them to go in and buy certain stocks, knowing that in the future the returns to be high.
Yeah, this is the time to buy stocks on the market, because when the stock market is up there, then that is the time to take your profit out. So I will even also say that some investors are now taking out their profit, but when the market is down, then you need to buy more. So now
if you want to be as savvy as those investors, what kind of stocks would you be looking at this moment if you want to still go in, even though things are not looking so rosy?
I would say check your risk, then maybe contact Goldco Securities, then we give you some stocks. But notwithstanding, some stocks are doing well. But the reason why I don't want to just mention is, depending on your risk level, or depending on what you want to go to and your investment strategy, that will determine the kind of stocks that you should be buying. Though some the market as a whole is not doing well, we had the financial stocks doing a little bit well. So the financial stock index closed the week adding up to its level. So we still have some stocks that are doing well on the market. So depending depending on the strategy the person wants to enter the market with, that will determine the kind of stock that the person will want to.
I know you've got a couple of stocks there that you want us to keep our eye on.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm just giving list of the stocks that were able to make strides on the market in spite of this challenging moment. We had Aluex, Car was also up there, ETI also closed, adding up FanMolk. This year, you know, FanMolk has been adding so much to its investors consistently. FanMolk has been increasing.
But they say because of the energy crisis, they're not going to invest as much in the company in Ghana as they intended to. That is the news I'm hearing on the wires.
Okay, if that is what they are saying, then we will see this reflecting. I'm yet to confirm that information, but what I know was they were planning to expand their operations rather in Ghana. So if they are going contrary to this, then it's also going to affect the share price. I mean, notwithstanding, because they couldn't perform as 2012, but their stock price is going up because of the hint of expansion that they've given to investors. So investors still having hope that this stock will be giving better returns in the future. So if they are going to halt this kind of expansion on the market, then we should see something else happening to their stock price. So I have not I can't confirm the information, so but I think once the information is confirmed, a lot of investors will try to react to it on the market, and we might see the price going down. Gold was also up there, a total gain on its price too. We had also BOPP, EBJ, EGL, PBC. They also dropped. We had a tall list here dropping on their list, and notwithstanding, we had the market capitalization shooting up a little on the market.
Okay, thank you very much, Odoi, for bringing us up to speed with the Ghana Stock Exchange. I'm sure I'll catch you here again next week, Monday at 5 o'clock. So, unfortunately, that is all we have time for on Business Live. We talked about energy, we've talked about stocks, and right now we're going to hand over to our friends over at the BBC who are going to give you what's going on around the continent with focus on Africa. At 6 o'clock, we come your way with today's big story. You should not miss that. And as well as GN Interactive, where we get all over interactive with all that's been happening over the web this day. My name is Jahian, and this has been Business Live. Have a good evening.